I appreciate if you do so. And it's now 12 noon, so we will get started. Glenn, you might hang out because I'm going to have you do the prayer. We're going to do that first thing. As always, we always start our meetings with a prayer. And Glenn Cope is, he's a Dr. Glenn Cope. He's our co-coordinator here in Kay County. He's also the man who does the weekly updates on all the legislation for Don Spencer to keep everybody up to speed on what's going on in the state capitol. And he's also my pastor. So he's a man with many hats. You can take it. Prayer.
Just a word of explanation. When my sons were young, they're in their 50s now. One of them was asked, well, what kind of doctor is your dad? He said, well, I don't know, but he's not the kind that can do you any good.
From the mouths of babes.
Would you bow, please? Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We pray that you'll watch over us and guide us. And Father, we pray for your blessings upon our nation, especially as we look to elect leaders. And Father, we pray that our leaders would always look to you for guidance, look to you for wisdom, look to you for the wisdom of leading. And Father, we pray that we all would do the same. And especially as we try to work with our government and our leaders here in this state, we pray that they too would always be inspired by your word. And Father, we pray that as we look to you, may we let your word and your love and your truth shine through us. I pray that in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Michael, our local Marine hero, Tom Parker, lead us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. All right, let's see. Before we get on to the main part of the program, I got some introductions to do. First off, as always, Stephen Phipps is the man back there in the audio-visual booth, and he's the reason we have this venue. He contacted me when I first announced that I was setting up a chapter here almost 5 years ago, and this venue fell right in my lap. I didn't even have to make one phone call to get me a venue arranged. So bless his heart. Plus, he does all the streaming. He does all the technical stuff. He's a blessing. Lorena, where you? There she is. This is Lorena Smithheiser. She is the GOP chair of Noble County, our neighbor to the south. And she's a hardworking lady. She comes to quite a few of my meetings, and I always appreciate seeing her. She does a lot of good down there in Noble County for our mission. Glenn, I've already introduced. Wade, there he is, Wade Duroy. Wade is our coordinator for Payne County, formerly, which county?
County.
Yeah, and bless his heart, Wade's one of the folks that came and visited me when I was in the hospital, came twice, and it was a blessing, really helped make my day. Clayton Jewell. Clayton and his dad, Alan, are long-term coordinators up in Grant County. Their meetings are in Medford. When are your meetings?
Third Thursday at 7 p.m.
Third Thursday at 7? And yeah, at the Methodist Church. Go down about 6 stairs to get to the basement where they have it. When are your meetings in Stillwater?
Last Tuesday at 6:30.
Last Tuesday of the month at 6:30 at, what's the bed and breakfast?
It is the Cottonwood Inn.
Cottonwood Inn. Yeah, beautiful facility. If you have any friends down there, or if you just feel like taking a little bit of a drive, they both have great meetings. And then little Joe over here, what's what we call him, among other things. Joe Baden, he is our Kay County GOP and chair, and he's got some signs he's selling. I got one at the GOP meeting Thursday. You want to pitch them on the signs?
Yeah, I got a bunch of yard signs that we're selling as kind of a fundraiser for the Kay County GOP to help offset the cost for, we had guest speakers come in to give them a little bit of money for gas and stuff like that. So we're selling the signs for $8 a piece, which is a couple dollars cheaper than what the state office is selling them for. So if anybody's interested, or if you don't have cash with you right now or whatever, get me your contact info afterwards and we'll figure it out. So.
And you don't have to drive to Oklahoma City to get them.
That's right.
Big improvement. Okay.
I also have big ones. I got, they're almost 3 foot by 4 foot signs. I got a few of those to put, like if you got commercial property or something like that, you want to put one up. I've got a few. If I have people that want more, then I can go get more.
Also, the Kay County GOP is setting up a booth at the Kay County Free Fair. And what dates is that, and what time, if anybody wants to come out and see it, or help man the table?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, if you want to come help us man the table, that'd be fantastic. Or just come by and visit. And we're working on a deal with Aaron with A&J Shooting Sports to do another raffle this year, and it will be winner's choice between like a bolt action 308 with a like a starter scope or like an AR of some kind or another. I'm still trying to hammer out the details with Aaron on that as far as what he wants to do. So we'll be selling those tickets just like we did last year to raise some funds. But
limited ticket though.
yes, I'm sorry, the tickets are limited. So once we sell 250 tickets, there's no more sales. And then we'll do the drawing after the Veterans Day Parade at the park. What we did last year was we set up a booth at the Veterans Day Parade or at the park, and I went and found a veteran that was there, had him come draw the ticket, recorded it and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Okay. First off, we have membership applications back there on the table. As I've heard Don say at least twice, if you're not a member, why the heck not? Now is the time to do it. We spent a lot of money in this last election, and we got a lot of results for it. Don's going to explain all that in detail. It's $25 for the basic membership and per year, and it can go up from there. It's all on the membership form. Folks, it's time to get involved. Our entire society, our Constitution is coming unraveled because of these crazy people in Washington. And on that same note, 11/5/24, November 5, 24 is our national election. Folks, you've got to get out and vote. You've got to get your neighbors, your family. Maybe if somebody needs a ride, maybe give somebody a ride to the polling place, but only if they're conservative. We don't want to do anything to encourage the left to get out and vote. Just accept the fact we're not going to. Remember the last time we were going to have a red wave, and what happened? It wasn't even a splash in a puddle. We've got to get out and vote. I saw something on Facebook that 150,000 gun owners in Oklahoma aren't even registered to vote. What in the hell is going on with that, folks? I mean, this is crazy. We've got to save this nation and our Constitution. And it's down to that now. That's the point we're at in history. I've mentioned this before. If you have a copy of Rise and Fall of the Third Reich by William Shirer, the book is about like this, so it's quite a project to read. But if you have a copy or can get your hands on it, there's 2 chapters you need to read. Chapter number 7 The Nazification of Germany, 1933-34, and chapter 27, The New Order. And the left is using the exact same game plan in America today that Hitler used to take power. So it's vital that we get out and vote. We've only got 2 ways to solve this situation. We've got to solve it: politics or the other method. And I'm an old man, I'd just soon solve it with the political system. So that's what's important. Now, Mr. Don Spencer is our president, our lobbyist. Hey, Ray, how you doing, man? Good you could make it. Don is at the state legislature every minute they're in session. What was it, last time? You were there till what, 1 a.m. a couple of times?
This year wasn't as bad.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, it has happened.
Yeah, we have thousands, literally thousands of bills introduced in the legislature each session, each time they sit. And this is what Glenn and Don work on, is isolating those bills that are important to us, our members, our freedom, not only our Second Amendment rights, but the entire Constitution. We fight for the entire Constitution. We just concentrate on the Second Amendment because that's the only one that gives the rest of the Constitution any teeth. But Don's down there in the trenches every minute of every day that they're in session. And he and our chairman of the board, Pastor Vineyard, actually came and visited me when I was laid up after my surgery. It was a real blessing. Also, Kendall Marr, those of you that are on Facebook see his name a lot. He handles all of our Facebook stuff. And he's the one who videos and transmits Don's meetings at the H&H Guns down in Oklahoma City. So, Don, I'm going to turn it over to you, boss.
All right.
So who came the farthest today? Who drove the farthest? Give me some, don't tell me I drove the farthest. Stillwater? Who came farther than Stillwater? Where'd you come from? Glencoe, you have to have a travel visa to leave Glencoe, don't you? Under your Biden administration and Kamala Harris.
Send me all big fanfare whenever I get out of town.
So Glencoe is any farther than Glencoe? No? No? Okay. Do you have one of these by chance? You have one of those right there?
I have a green one and, no, I have it working too.
You have an orange one too?
Yeah.
Okay. Man, my kind of guy. All right, so,
It was you.
oh, yeah, better not say anything bad about that, right?
We live in Perry.
Perry? There you go. Perry gets a shirt. Do you have one?
No.
Oh, well, now you do. You caught it. You had to.
Get Don a t-shirt.
Absolutely.
Are you voting for the fellow? Oh, okay. That is a requirement.
Yeah, thank you, Terry. Yeah, actually, that was probably a good call to double check after I done tossed it over there. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes that's how I do things a little out of order, but that's also sometimes how we get things done around here too. So on that. Now, has anybody noticed, I don't know, the last time we met, at least I've been here, there's been quite a bit of changes in this country as far as gun ownership and who wants to take them away from them. Is anyone familiar with Kamala Harris wants to do a buyback program? How do you buy something back that you don't own? How does that happen? How does that happen? So who could fall for this buyback?
Australia did.
Australia did. Yeah, that's exactly to our point that we're talking about is exactly right. So we see these things come along and you think, man, that stuff can just never happen. It can never happen. And the fact is, yes, it can. And it's probably closer to happening now than ever because all it takes is just a couple of changes of a few Supreme Court justices and you know that they'll be ramrodding stuff through to take every right away from you possible. And this should not be any secret because the fact that's what they said they want to do. They're so arrogant, they're so bold, it's just so easy. It's just so easy that that's what we're going to do. So you kind of got to give them kudos because they're telling you straight up front, we're coming to take your guns. Well, that's what we're going to do. And for my neighborhood, it's just a real short answer is no. But the thing is, we've got to make sure that this is strong right here in our own state, right in our own community, because it may be someday Oklahoma and Texas has its own national border. We may have to lay the groundwork out for this to happen. I don't want it. I'm not pushing for it. I don't suggest it, but I do not rule it out how crazy the aggressive effort is to take our rights away is. But on top of that, what's so sad in the state of Oklahoma, maybe some of you have heard me state, Oklahoma became a state in 1907. Of course, Terry remembers that, right?
Yeah.
You do that?
That's the year I graduated from high school.
So anyway, but 1907, and the state constitution reads that your right to keep bear arms should never be prohibited, but the legislature can regulate the carrying of weapons. Now, where I'm from, this is called an oxymoron. How can it never be prohibited, but they can regulate it? And guess what the very first law that was made in Oklahoma related to your guns? You shall not carry a pistol, rifle, or shotgun on or about your person, whether loaded or unloaded. Second Amendment, the state of Oklahoma, the progressive Democrats that created the state said, you don't have a Second Amendment right. And what's so sad that after two state court rulings in an appeals court and state court reaffirms you do not have a Second Amendment right in the state of Oklahoma. Did you know that? Because in 1929, they suspect that he's a bootlegger. They show up, the sheriff shows up, and this is out in Ellis County. They show up, he's got a 45 in his Colt in his belt. When he answers the door, they say, we've got a search warrant. We're searching for bootlegging stuff. So he steps out in the front yard. They go in. They don't find nothing. On the way out, they arrest him in his own front yard for the open carry of a pistol. This guy had been ordered out by the deputy into the front yard. He's convicted of it. It goes to the State Criminal Court of Appeals in 1929, and it is upheld. And they even go and say that the state legislature can even outlaw the possession of a pistol and ownership of a pistol. It's still on the books today, folks. That's what we're dealing with. So what you do, and this is going to be real easy this year in November, on November 5th, when you go to vote, it says retaining Supreme Court justices. All you have to do is put no on the three. You don't have to know their names. It's real easy because they all suck. Because they've done some horrible, horrible rulings, and the respect for your rights is completely, it just doesn't exist. It just doesn't. They'll get some stuff right, but for the most part, it doesn't exist on protecting your rights. That's why we at OK2A are concerned about getting any court action in front of them because we don't trust them. We don't trust them. Here's the second part of this is we have problems in our own state legislature because anyone have any idea how these judges are appointed to the state Supreme Court, Criminal Court of Appeals? Anybody have an idea?
Advisory board.
Advisory board. Thank you very much. So there's 15 people. Name one of them. It can't be done because they keep it quiet. It's not even subject to the Open Meetings Act. You can't find out anything. These people and how they're appointed is weird how they're appointed. So what happens is this advisory board, whenever there's an opening for one of these positions, gives 3 names to the governor of Oklahoma. So he has to pick the best of the worst because there's no other avenue. If he doesn't pick one of those, then the Supreme Court judge in charge gets to pick. Sound like a good system? Yeah. This was voted in the middle 60s. And I have said more than once, I wonder how much money, hookers, and alcohol it took to get that passed. I'm serious. This is the same state that passed. You don't have. Oh yeah, you have the right to carry a gun, but we're going to regulate it, and you can't carry it. But you have the right. You have the right, but you can't carry it, and we're going to regulate it. That's the same state. Now, I often refer to, if the way you want to know how things should be done, look south of that Red River. Because south of that Red River, there is no doubt the defensive rights is solid. And even just last week, 2 weeks ago, did anybody hear about carrying at the Texas State Fair? What did the AG clearly state that a person's right to self-defense also includes at the Texas State Fair? Just take a guess. Take a guess how that filled out. Ken Paxton said, Texas State Fair, you will let these citizens, you will not prohibit them, you will not diminish their rights. And did exactly what they're supposed to do. Texas also, and I love this because people say, who's got better gun laws, Texas or Oklahoma? Well, I'm getting ready to tell you, I'll let you figure it out. Texas says you can carry at your state fair. Texas says, oh, you go to college? Yeah, carry your pistol. We don't want to see it, but just carry your pistol. Texas universities, public campuses. In Austin, the state capital of Texas, since 2009, just show us you got an ID card, and carry your pistol right on in the state capital of Texas. Can you do that in Oklahoma? So, also, a teacher in the state of Texas, on the approval of the school board, has a Texas handgun carry license. And the school board says, you got a handgun carry license? Yeah, we'll put you through some little more training. You can carry. Does Oklahoma have that? No. You have to literally be a law enforcement officer or an armed security officer, which is a lot of unnecessary training for what is going on with that. So if you want to know, when you think of Texas and Oklahoma, when it comes to liberty, whose is better? It's not even close. It's not even close. And one more second. And I take this back to what that is based on. Oklahoma, how was Oklahoma established? Let's go steal some land. Let's have a race. And they're even, hey, later we'll call them the Sooners because they're cheaters, and we'll make an awesome football team out of them later. Now, I'm a Sooner fan, but I'm just telling you, that's how this has all come about. Texas, how was Texas founded? Come and take it. Their guns, their cannons. Their attitude was, get back across that Rio Grande River. This is Texas. You're not touching us. And guess what is, because when you go to Texas, what do you see everywhere? Everywhere. That Texas flag. Everywhere. You go to Oklahoma. Has anyone seen an Oklahoma flag today? No. And if you did, it's probably stolen, right? Okay, Joe, what do you want to?
I was just going to say, I thought Oklahoma was right up the red states.
No. Oh, okay. Thank you. Very good. Tongue in cheek. That was good. That is a very good, astute observation as far as humor. I do recognize humor. That is good. Oklahoma's red is a thin layer of very veiled paint, because that's just where I'm getting to with all of this. Well, folks, we're in a fight, and we got a chance of winning here. We have the chance. We have had a struggle at this Oklahoma State Legislature, specifically the Oklahoma State Senate leadership has been more concerned about out-of-state interest and lobbyists than their constituents' rights and protections. It's been consistent. And if you think, how can that be? Okay, well, just, I don't know how many months ago it was, Terry, had Senator Coleman here, along with Senator Brooks, trying to convince you it's a good idea to give illegal aliens an Oklahoma driver's license.
He failed.
I'm going to repeat that. He was convinced it's the best thing with this herd and flood of Obama and Biden and Kamala Harris people coming over the border, that to deal with that is to hand them an Oklahoma driver's license. And also in that same judgment, who do you think he supports for new Senate leadership? Does he support the swamp that wants illegals to have Oklahoma driver's license? Or does he support a conservative that says, shakes his head just like you did? They're like, nah, there's no way. In fact, we're in church, and that's really a hell no. It really is. It really is. And so we have to continue to push. But also in that, I will remind you, the former floor leader who was second in charge in the state Senate of Oklahoma also was heavily engaged in making sure illegal aliens could obtain an Oklahoma driver's license. And the people said, we'll go back to, hell no. They fired him. They kicked him out. They booted him out last June. Yeah, yay our side, exactly. Also, one of his cohorts, Senator Jessica Garvin down in Duncan, who introduced the nation's worst gun bill there was by making it a felony for a kid to have a toy gun and point it at somebody. Now, I'm going through all this because obviously your blood pressure hasn't been raised high enough lately, right?
I took my medicine.
Yeah, you took your medicine. You probably need to go do another hit on it, but anyway. But this is what we're dealing with. And the fact is, you wouldn't know this stuff unless you've got someone down there keeping an eye on this stuff that's going on. And this is where OK2A has come in. And it's real simple, folks. They love us or they hate us. And the hate list is pretty long. And if you should see some of my private messages and some of the phone calls I get and stuff. But the thing is, I don't care. I mean, I don't care. And some people get fired up as a result of it. I don't even do that. I just don't care. I don't care. We're just going to go do what we're going to do here. But this year in the Senate, there were over 24 Second Amendment, Private Property Act bills that were moved from the House to the Senate, and the Senate killed every one of them. That's the swamp. That's the Senate leadership. That's what they've done. And this is why OK2A is working so hard. And we've not been real secret here that the Senate leadership needs to be changed. And that's what we're working to do, to find some conservative leadership. I personally think Senator Bullard will do an excellent job at it. And so this is who we think will do a good job. He's been great to work with the grassroots. He's great to get back with people. He actually is concerned about people in his district. The swamp out of district lobbyist, he's not a huge fan of, even though you do have to respectfully understand he does still need to hear, because these are people with a voice. You need to hear the voice. You just don't have to agree with it. So, but we just need people that are strong enough to understand that, you know what, I'm pretty sure we don't need Chinese buying up every piece of property in this state and turning it into some kind of farm that's producing items that would, under what they're doing, would be illegal. We don't need that. And he has pushed and passed legislation to stop that. There's still going to need to be more legislation to clean up the fact that because you always think people walk from point A to point B, but that's not how it's done, especially if they're criminals. They know you may have to go to point F, then come back to point I, then come back to get to point B. And so this is legislatively, they have to work to try to stop some of these things in this direction also. So you can, like I say, you can see how it's important that Senate leadership. So who here has Senator Coleman as your senator? Okay. He voted again for the swamp for the interim, because since the previous interim floor leader, pro tem, was fired from office, they thought they had to elect a new one because it's going to take place in December anyway. Yes, sir.
Tell them about how they did that second vote.
Oh, thank you.
When?
Appreciate that. I knew there was a good reason why you were here. This is how nasty the swamp is. And oh, by the way, they hate it when I call them the swamp, because that's exactly what the creatures that they are in this.
More of a cesspool, isn't it? There's some good things in the swamp, there's nothing good in the cesspool.
Well, even a cesspool eventually could turn into something useful, but we all know what it is before then, which is not good. What happened was, well, we got to have this vote. And why it's so important is because whoever has control of the pro tem designate has control of the money, where they can go send money to different people that are running for office, or even legislators that are trying to keep their office, and buy their favors and literally buy the seat. And so that's why this is so important, where this dogfight has continued to take place. So, well, let's do it. What would be a good day, if you're the swamp, what would be a good day for you to have this election take place so you could get your guy in there? What would be a good day? How about the first day of the Republican GOP National Convention. That since, not all of them, but there's many of the conservative senators, Trump supporters, who are at Wisconsin. Hey, let's have a meeting while they're all up there, so we'll have enough votes to win, so we can buy the favors with these folks. That's your Oklahoma state swamp. And that's also Mr. Coleman, Senator Coleman, is right in a part of that. So I'm telling you, that's what we're working and fighting against. We're not fighting against Democrats. We're fighting against Republicans. Republicans that are willing to go against the state GOP platform and have illegal aliens have an Oklahoma driver's license. Yes, ma'am.
Why did you say that guy's name Bullard? What's his name? The good guy?
Bullard.
But Senator Bullard, Bullard.
Thank you.
And so this is what makes this so complicated, because these senators say, well, this is a private vote when we vote for a leader. Bullcrap. We want to know, we get to see everything else that's for. We want to know who you're voting for as a leader. We want to know before, during, and after. And it's that important that we do, because the fact is, what you're doing is you're representing out of district what we're all coming together and they vote for the most liberal Republican there is, so they can go do their games, which includes killing your Second Amendment rights and legislation to put on to get back what should have never been taken away.
Don,
Yeah.
I have a question from online.
Is it in English?
Yes.
Okay, as long as it's in English.
Aaron Walter, our coordinator.
Yeah.
Yeah. Question for Don. Isn't it illegal to hire illegals in Oklahoma?
Yes. Yes. And why is it still done? I don't know. How it's still done, I don't know. I'm not sure. I just know part of it is, especially the marijuana industry, since they can't use banks, they're a cash business, and that, so what goes in cash, what comes in cash goes out cash. So I assume a lot of these people are paid by the same way.
One other thing, in fact, I had this discussion with Alfred just the other day. Court rulings and laws passed by the legislature, if the executive branch won't enforce them, where do you go from there?
Right.
And that's one of the problems we got. We've had some really good court rulings, but is the executive branch going to enforce them? I have serious doubts about that.
Well, this doesn't quit, like I say, it doesn't just quit with the legislature. You're absolutely correct. It also goes around it. But like I say, I'm trying to establish why it's so important that you not only be concerned about just your senator, if you can help another one to make sure we have a good team to go up there, to make sure we have conservative, constitutional minded people in charge. The thing is, I'm pretty convinced that the mediocre legislators will gravitate to what's right just about as easy as if they can so easily gravitate to what's wrong. It comes down to leadership. It really comes down to leadership, and that's why this is so important. And so this is why this year we actually made some endorsements just this week to let people know, and we put the endorsement in their mailbox. Does that make sense? We didn't make the endorsement until they read it in their mail. We didn't want any other distortion through social media, through anything else. We wanted it to show up in their mailbox. Oh, okay. So OK2A has endorsed State Senator Julie McIntosh in Senate District 3, mostly Tahlequah and part of Tahlequah, and goes up through Wagner County. We have endorsed her over right now, Blake Stevens. Blake Stevens not once but twice has voted for the swamp leadership. We can't have that. Nice guy, great. You're voting wrong. It's nothing personal. If you don't do what you're supposed to do to protect us, we will find someone that will. And that person is Julie McIntosh. And so she was endorsed this week, and also OK2A paid, and we put mailers in Republicans' mailboxes this week, so they would know clear cut exactly where we stand at OK2A, why we stand for her, and so on. Do you think this is cheap to do this?
What's one mailer cost?
One mailer, we've got it down to 58 cents. But when you have 5,000 of them go out, that adds up pretty quick. So you can see why this is important. But like I say, here's the other part. The dark money that is being used, and maybe who's got a mailer in your mailbox and you don't have any idea who that's from. It says Sooner Conservative PAC. Anyone have an idea what that is? It's a fraud. There's a phone number on it which no one answers, and the address is to a Office Depot P.O. box. Sound pretty professional? Now when OK2A sends one out, I've got it in big bold type. No dark money here. This was paid for by the Oklahoma Second Amendment Association, Don Spencer, president. Do you think you can find him? Do you think you can talk to him? Right. So we think that this is very effective along with this, what's going on. And like I say, on my mailbox, I'm getting 2 and 3 a day right now. There's 2 candidates that are still active. And like I say, when it gets closer to election times, you guys know what's one. Last week I got 7 in one day, 7 mailers, and my record is 10. Has anyone ever got more than 10 mailers in one day? No, you just couldn't count that high. Didn't care about count that high. I don't blame you, Clayton. I wouldn't either. So this is what some of you understand what we're running through. Also, in Senate District 15, we had endorsed Lisa Standridge this week. We also did a mailer in her district. That is an open seat. Her husband is the current senator. And I've made this joke, but really it's probably true. His wife is running for the seat. And I think she may actually be more conservative than him if that's possible. I mean, she's an excellent candidate. We're looking forward to seeing how this turns out for her and that. Also, an open seat, Senator Nathan Dahm. Anybody ever heard of that guy? Just slightly, sort of. That seat is open. As a legislator, he's done a great job. Okay, but that seat is open, and Christy Gillespie and Shelley Gortney. We've got two fine candidates in this. OK2A never made a point to endorse at this point. There will still be a November race. We will be endorsing one of these two after the election on next week, next Tuesday. Who's voted already? Anybody voted already? I'm the only one that's voted already? Oh, wow, okay. All right, so
We
anyway.
don't have a whole lot on our runoff election here.
Oh, that's right. Someone told me that earlier.
Now, Osage
Okay,
County does.
okay. Man, lucky you guys, because we're just all the time here. Okay. All right, so anyway, but also in Senate District 47, Kelly Hines had been endorsed by OK2A. We feel that he will obviously set a conservative, make the conservative agenda and assert conservative leadership. So that is a big one that we're paying attention to. Now this goes to the House. The House has traditionally worked very well with OK2A. Do we get everything we want? No. Do we get a lot? Yes, because even last year the House put well over a dozen bills from the House to the Senate for the Senate to kill. But the House moves bills. The House listens to us, and the House responds. So our being aggressive like we are in the Senate is not as needed because the fact they're working with us, they're talking to us, and so on and so forth. But there's still some things that take place in here. Now, I live in House District 32, and the current incumbent is Kevin Wallace. And so this week, we endorsed the person running against Kevin Wallace, which is a guy named Jim Shaw. You go, well, why would you do that? See, I can hear you asking that question in your head. I'm just going to read it there. The reason is, if you can imagine, we're trying to get, as I had just talked to you earlier, the state change in the state constitution on the right to keep and bear arms, where it clearly states your rights shall not be infringed. Kevin Wallace held up this legislation because he is in the appropriations chair, and he was also in House leadership. He also held up another bill that was not really a huge big deal. It just clarified that a firearm instructor, when he issued your certificate for a handgun, it didn't matter if it's a revolver or a Derringer or a semi-automatic. It's just a handgun. And right now, anyone that's ever had the license, you had to go down which one that you're getting. It makes that simpler. He held that bill up also. Now you wonder, why on earth would a state representative that has Don Spencer, the president of OK2A, as a constituent, why would he work to hold up and stop legislation? Any ideas? Yep, good. Someone said some money. Yeah, that's always a good start.
He was asked to by somebody else.
I'm sorry?
He was asked to by somebody else.
He's asked to by somebody else. No, I think this is pretty much all, he owns the whole thing.
I just understand how the appropriations chair has anything to do with.
Here's how it works. Let's go with the big picture. If you're paranoid, which Representative Wallace is, he assumed Don Spencer was working to get someone to run against him in the election, which was completely untrue, asinine, hadn't happened. I got better things to do. I'm trying to get the Senate fixed. And this is why he held this up. And it wasn't the first time he had held up legislation. Yes.
If he's worried that you're gonna find someone to run against him, why would he then purposefully go and hold up a bill that he knows that you would love to see get passed?
Two bills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
And,
makes no
and
sense.
by the way, the Speaker of the House, current Speaker of the House, Charles McCall, did an excellent job when I explained what was going on. And he even took ownership of this change in the state constitution. He said, yes, Don, that's a good bill. Yes, Don, we're going to hear this rest of this legislation, and we're going to get everything done. And he did. So that's how this got fixed. But even with my conversation with Wallace, it was, well, I figured you were running someone against me. No such thing had happened, still hadn't happened. But when someone got in there that was good and credible, and you're killing my legislation. You're killing the legislation to protect Oklahomans. Oh, also, he's got a farm out in Wellston he's been dumping human manure on. Anyone know what that is about?
Yep.
It's the collection of human manure out of sewage plants and being hauled to Wellston, Oklahoma to be used as fertilizer on fields or crops. Now, in a forum, his point was, hey, it's my private property. I'm big on private property rights. I'll go, great, as long as I don't have to smell your property, because if you can keep that smell confined to your property, I'll say okay. But if you can also make sure that that doesn't contaminate my water well, my water source, great. But that's the problem that it does. And his arrogance with that actually became the bigger issue than Second Amendment. Because you know, if you drive through somewhere and all of a sudden you're just smelling a sewer septic blah, and you tell your friends, I have the right to do this, your neighbors to do this, does that make you a good neighbor? No, this is the issue in Lincoln County right now. Also, the wind farms, wind turbines, Don's not a fan of them. I have friends and people out there that are not a fan of them. And so he has actually actively tried to help bring these in and then deny it and then accused the guy that's running against him. So this is the mess that we're dealing with. But again, how would you know that if we weren't standing here telling you? Right. This is what we've got. So I love the point you go back to. Yeah, this is a red state. Now the self-interest on a $47,000 a year job in the state legislature is really weird. That they would spend literally $750,000 for a House seat race. Where does that money come from? Most of it's out of state, trying to influence that. Yeah. But if we weren't sitting here telling you, how would you know? So this is what's also transpiring in this state, that this election is so important, and that's why I said I've already voted. That's Thursday morning. I was just about as soon as that door opened up at the election board, I was scribbling my ballot for Jim Shaw, because like I say, I'm tired of my neighbors and my friends having to put up with such arrogance, and then for me to sit there and watch the same paranoia try to killing Second Amendment legislation because he doesn't like me or exercising a First Amendment right at all, and then punishing me for it. Absolutely, folks, we can do better. And it's not just a confined problem to that district, it's a problem across this state too. So this is it. The transparency is a wonderful thing. Because what happens when you shine the light on darkness? Don't we got some preachers in here? What happens when you shine the light on darkness? You go, yeah, right, exactly. So this is one of those things that we're continuing to work on. Now, also, what we're working on too is the ability, the Senate killed over 50 bills in the last session. So if we get Senate leadership changed out and get good leadership in there, I've been told we're going to play catch up on all these back bills, because a lot of them just have to clean up from constitutional carry. Some of them are carrying at the state fair. And also, this year, the state fair, Oklahoma State Fair in city, did you hear that they prohibited anyone under the age of 18 being there by themselves without a parent? What's that tell you? It's not a safe place to be. As a kid, my folks pull you up the front, there's the gate, you got to watch, you be back here at 6 p.m. or you're not getting any dinner. I may come back and get you the next morning. And I was convinced that that's exactly what they would do. Why is that? Because we were responsible. It's not my problem that someone else is raising irresponsible kids and I want to go to a state fair and I can't defend myself, which, by the way, a kid still managed to sneak a gun in and do a shooting at the state fair. It's a dangerous place to be. Also, I hate to be real practical. If you're unarmed between that gate and your car, what are you? You're a nice target. You've got your arms full of all kinds of stuff, your stomach's full of food, you're about half sick probably, and all that stuff, and then all of a sudden someone pulls up on there and it takes advantage of you.
Most people know that you're gonna leave your weapon in your car.
Right, exactly.
So it makes the parking lot a
Right.
drug-rich environment for people.
So we are going to continue to push, we're going to continue to push carrying at the state fair, which would include Tulsa. Yes, sir?
Yeah, I'm a little confused. When you started off earlier, right at the beginning, and you're saying that there's legislation on the books to make it illegal to carry handguns, use handguns, et cetera, et cetera. Well, what you're now saying is even if we get rid of all these guys and they get new legislation in, it's still gonna be illegal and they can still arrest you if they want to.
No, in 2019, and let me back up a little bit. 2018, with Senator Dom, we got constitutional carry on the desk of Governor Mary Fallin. And the Senate leadership did everything they could to keep that from happening, but Senator Dom literally outsmarted them through their own maneuvers, and he knew the rules and he got it done. And so they had to vote on it because there was another bill he had that they had made promises to someone that they would get that bill heard. He goes, no, I'm not gonna let this be heard unless you hear constitutional carry, and he put them in the vice and they had to hear it. He outsmarted Greg Treat.
Okay, so the old legislation was on the books that you
Yes.
said is behind us,
Okay,
and we're thumbing our nose at it and saying, screw you.
okay, in 1995, Oklahoma said, okay, you can have, and Oklahoma's done this, we're taking all your rights away, but if you want to go hunting, okay, we'll give you a little bit of your right back. If you want to go skeet shooting, okay, we'll give you some of your right back. So they gave you back just a little bit at a time until 1996, which it said that if you spend hundreds of dollars, the state might give you permission to carry a gun. And since then, and OK2A came into effect in 2010, we have worked to repeal 13 felonies for the otherwise peaceful ownership or carry of a firearm. If you got on a city bus and you was carrying a gun, it used to be a $10,000 fine. If you owned a bus on your own private property and you got on that bus with your gun, you committed a felony and a $10,000 fine. This is how hideous some of these laws that we've taken and pulled back. It used to be a felony that if you drove up to your kid's school, you left your gun in the car, but you went into the football game or whatever was going on, that was a felony. I mean, so we've repealed, it used to be that even a private school, private property, that if you had a gun on that property, even if you were the property owner and it was a school, you were facing felony. And so for me, this is just stupid. So one of our things is we take the stupid out of Oklahoma gun laws, and we've done a lot to do that.
So, bottom line on what I'm looking for, I
Okay.
guess as an answer, is in today's world in Oklahoma, if you have your carry license,
Yes.
et cetera, and you exercise that right to shoot somebody
Okay.
in the right circumstance.
Okay.
The old laws that some jackass DA can't go get on the old books and come after you.
Okay. Also, during that time, the old books, no, they have to go with the current law. So the current law is in 2019, we got constitutional carry passed, which means you don't have to have permission from the government to carry a gun unless you've got a previous felony or some other type of
Right.
So that's where, now again, you have the Constitution and then you have statutes, which is the laws. The laws are not supposed to be in conflict with the Constitution.
But they are.
But
is
they
what
are,
you're saying.
but they are.
Correct.
And here's the problem is the Constitution is in conflict with the national federal Constitution. Your rights shall not be infringed. So the state of Oklahoma was built by progressive liberalism and it's had this foundation, and we've had to scratch back all this time. Texas was founded on, it's your right, you keep it. It's your right. And we want you to have guns because we don't know what we're gonna have to do to make sure you can keep it. Their attitude is completely different down there.
Okay. The US Constitution and the Oklahoma Constitution and the incongruence of those aside, I think what Jay was getting at is, do we have statutes on the books in Oklahoma related to firearm possession, carry,
Oh,
use,
absolutely. Yeah.
that are in conflict or incongruent with one another?
There are a whole lot less. There are a few still, but since we need to change our state constitution, which then would force state statutes and laws to fall into place. And it's unfortunate because 2 years ago, it was called the Bruin decision by the United States Supreme Court. Basically says, I'm putting it in Don's words, whatever the law was in 1791 is good today. So if you could carry your gun into a place or have that type of gun at all, in 1791, it's still good, which includes a post office, which includes a lot of, and they did separate out sensitive areas like schools and some government buildings, which would be a jail or prison. Yeah, obviously in 1791, if you were in jail, you didn't get to keep your gun, still applies today. So we're having to look, but the state of Oklahoma, like I say, is horrific about paying attention to what your actual constitutional rights are. And this is where we've been scratching back what we can to get these rights back that should have literally never been taken away from us to begin with.
So the rights have been taken away. Some jackass DA, again, liberal DA.
Yep.
That wants to go after you,
Right.
he can get you.
He can attempt to get you, but a person like myself is a member of what's called U.S. Law Shield.
Yeah, I am too.
Good. That's your, because the deal is, I mean, it could be a bad officer, it could be a bad DA, it could be a bad judge, it can be all three, and you're looking at problems for a legitimate act of self-defense.
Yeah.
Yes, it could happen.
Yeah.
It could happen, because we're dealing with people. We're dealing with people.
So-
But it's not supposed to, which is what your point is, I think.
Yeah,
It's not
you know,
supposed to, but yes, could it happen? The answer is yes.
So how do the statutes have to be repealed to totally protect you?
I know this one. What has to happen, instead of the handcuffs being placed on you, it's got to be placed on the judiciary. It's got to be placed on DAs. And actually all the way down to law enforcement at some points. It's got to be placed on, because Oklahoma made sure that if you carry a gun, it is clear in Oklahoma law, you shall not be disarmed unless the officer can articulate a criminal act. I mean, that's pretty.
What about for
And
officers
that's-
and their safety?
Doesn't matter. Oklahoma law says can't do it. Can't do it. Because the law here is now superseding the law enforcement officer on that, which is what it's supposed to be. It's what it's supposed to
You
be.
know, they'll say a lot
But the
of,
thing is, and
for
again,
my safety,
that's,
get out of the car and take your gun.
right, and I can tell you that he's in violation of state law unless you can articulate a criminal act. Now, if you're driving 25 with a speed limit, you're drunk, you're whatever, yeah, you're in trouble. They can, yeah, absolutely, that's stuff. But this is a routine. So if you're doing, 11 miles an hour the speed limit, you are not to be disarmed. If you're, and I had this happen, you're pulled over, changing a tire, officers come up, just check to make sure everything was okay, and he decided he was gonna check my ID. No, you're not. I'm not doing anything illegal here. No, you're not. And it actually was, okay, well, you tried. He has a First Amendment right to ask you, you have a Fifth Amendment right, Fourth Amendment right to deny it. And that's just it. Your rights have to be exercised. It's like a muscle. If you don't exercise your right, it'll go flabby, just like that. So that's what's important, that we continue to do these things to protect our rights and our property. Now, last year, and actually for 4 years, the state senate has turned this bill down. It was right there. They just needed one more vote on it, and they wouldn't do it. And we call it the Private Property Protection Act. Maybe some of you have heard me describe this. Currently, under state law, even in this building right here, right now, we have the right to expect absolute safety inside of this structure. Absolute safety. And actually, it goes back to Scripture. Because you have the right, God says, hey, it's your home. It's a castle doctrine. You have the right to expect safety in your home. Whatever you got to do to maintain it, it all counts. So if someone's forcing entry into your home and the evildoer is struck and so he dies, oh well, that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. So as we continue to work, but like I say, right now it's a structure. This needs to be expanded all the way to the edge of your property and include the defense of your property.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you know who's got this and it works real well? Texas. Absolutely. And guess, if you go mess with somebody's property in Texas, what's the likelihood that you're going to end up assuming ambient temperature? There's a guy named Joe Horn. His neighbors were being robbed. He went out and folded 2 felons that had already been kicked out of the country. Oh well, thanks, Joe. Yeah. Okay, and there was more than enough Texans that were willing to contribute the 2 shells he shot from that shotgun to reimburse him for his effort.
Rapid onset.
Yeah, it was right. So that's why I continue. I mean, I hate it. The only thing we beat Texas is in is football. We got to do better than that. This is it. Which I don't mind beating Texas in football. That's a good deal. But this is what we got to continue. But anyway, to expand this, and Texas even has what's called third party. If someone is tearing a statue down in a public park, any Texan can defend it. Why do you think no one jacked with statues in Texas? Because there's people that are willing to defend it, just like that.
Yeah.
And that attitude needs to be here, because the fact is, it should be common sense. You know what? If I go mess with someone's property, I could die. It really should be that simple. And for me, with raising my kids, maybe you too, I never had to go say to my kids, if you try to go steal somebody's stuff, you could die. Because they knew if someone showed up at our place, they knew that their dad wasn't going to tolerate that either. And this is how, and of course, like I say, my kids had, there were guns in class, we had guns in the school, and people are like, oh my gosh, where do your kids go to school? Oh yeah, school at home, they're pretty good shots too. And so they had a respect for this, and like I say, we need to make sure we work this back into the system too. OK2A passed, I think it was 3 years ago, maybe 4, passed a bill, because in many municipalities, it's illegal to discharge a BB gun or an airsoft pistol. And I've got to thinking, you know what? And one guy brought it to my attention. I said, you know what? We need to have this to where you can discharge it as long as it doesn't leave your property. Everything's cool. And so then once we got that passed, I got to thinking, you know what? Now kids can be taught how to shoot these in school, because these plastic pellets, they're 250 feet per second. Just take a simple backstop. Kids can be taught safety and basic understanding of a firearm through these airsoft pellets. Why not? Let's go. And they can start understanding it. So now there's some schools that we've been working with and private individuals, so we can start doing this and set up backstop, provide it. And like I say, who here would not provide an airsoft pistol with pellets to a school so they could have this? Who wouldn't? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, we can sell it on the point that, hey, the school's not going to be out of anything. We have people that will donate it. The school will be out nothing. And they're like,
crud, now we've got to come up with a new reason to tell you no. Yeah, that's exactly right. You're gonna have to come up with something better. So, this is what OK2A has worked on. And like I say, carry at the state fair. Folks, if you're on a college campus, you should be able to carry a gun in self-defense. On a VOTEC, this should not be an issue at all. I mean, it's amazing. People think that just because you have a gun on you, that all of a sudden you're a different person. And so I tell them, yes, I am. I'm a completely different person because I know I have to be responsible. I can't just pull that out willy-nilly. I can't just point it willy-nilly for the fun of it. That I have to be responsible if that thing comes out of the holster. And it falls on no one but me. That's correct. And so, am I a different person? Yeah, look at that. Yeah, look at that. I mean, just basic hunting stuff at the gun range. You got to be careful. You got to be careful. So anyway, but that's what we're continuing to work on. Like I said, there's a lot of cleanup language from constitutional carry and some spots. I've even already talked about if we get Senate leadership changed, that this will put into an omnibus bill. Just get it all at once. And Governor Stitt, love this guy. He just keeps telling me, get it on my desk, Don. Don, get it on my desk. I'll sign it. Let's go. And he has been excellent to sign everything we put on there. The very first bill he signed into law was constitutional carry.
What has to happen to get it to there? In your opinion, what do we have to do to get it to his desk?
Senate leadership. It just takes someone that says, yeah, we need to fix this. And here's what OK2A has done for years and why we've been so successful. We identify a problem. We show them how to fix the problem in the language. And then we come in and support the effort to get it fixed. That's why they love us or they hate us. Because some legislators are absolutely jealous that there's something they want to get passed or done, and there's nothing behind them, no group or nothing like that to help get it done. But here, we've got it laid out. Because I'm, by nature, don't go into shock, I'm a really lazy person. I'd rather be messing in my garden today till it got hot and go in and get kind of psyched up for football games that are starting next week. That's what I would rather be doing. But I cannot explain why this calling for me came about the way it did. But I just simply wanted to be able to carry a gun without asking the government for permission and defend myself knowing that lawfully, that I will not be in jail as a result of it. My first bill I worked is because it was a felony to leave my gun in my car while at a VOTEC taking armed security guard class. Anybody see an oxymoron? Armed security guard class, but it's a felony to have the gun. Anybody see a problem with that? God, this is stupid. And I was becoming a firearm instructor. Like, oh my gosh, how stupid is this? And the Republicans did everything they could to kill that bill, and it was a miracle that we got it on the desk and for Governor Fallon to sign in 2010. It is a miracle. And the Republicans did, I'd say, everything possible. And I walk into a committee room for the first time, and you look, and it's a public safety committee, and this room is packed full of people, and I realize, look at all these suits and ties that are right there working against this guy in blue jeans and had a work flannel t-shirt and work boots. All I want to do is be able to leave my gun in the car and not be a felon. I could do it at the state capitol, perfectly fine. What's the difference of a VOTEC parking lot? And so that's where this kind of stuff come about. So that's where here's another problem. Oh, here's another problem. Here's another problem. And so as the people just like you realize, man, this is stupid. We need this fixed. So OK2A continues to grow, and now we've had thousands and thousands of members. And folks, we have spent this year, I'm sure we're going to spend somewhere in the nature of $40,000 on an election. And that's from your dues. I mean, we don't have any other really huge outside income. T-shirts, hats, some stuff like that. We don't have it. That's coming from members who have said, Don, I'm going to make sure you got $5 a month or $25 a year, making sure they're signed up and helping. And then also, I'll make this plea out to you too. If you're a $5 a month or $10 a month, I'm asking you if it's possible to dub it. And I'm also telling you, like Trump, if you can't, don't. Yeah, don't. But make sure you can make the phone calls and the emails. Because I tell you folks, there's nothing better when a legislator won't listen and I've sent a text and it goes out to about 20,000 people and say even 10% of them call within the first minute. What do you think that does to a phone system?
He calls you crying, please make it stop.
They call me and say, please tell them to stop. And I'm like, yeah, I'll get right on that.
We're just getting warmed up.
Yeah. I'm telling you, and again, that system, it costs money. It costs money. It costs money for us to do that. I'm the only paid person. I'm not an employee. Basically, it's an independent contractor. But I'm up there keeping an eye on this garbage that's going on. And I have faith that we will prevail. And what they want to do is people that aren't signed up to vote, people aren't signed up, they want to wear you out. They want to wear you down. That's the goal. Don't let them do it. Don't let them do it. And I'm not. I'm not. And like I say, this is why we push so hard.
What's the timeline based on the election cycles? My understanding, or my impression is that there are 6, 10, 15 legislators that are the blocks.
Maybe be less than that.
Okay, based on the election cycles.
Right.
When can we expect to get rid of these people that are blocking?
Next Tuesday, like I say, we get rid of a couple in the Senate.
Yeah.
And then in November, there'll be basically everyone in November. No, I take that back. There's a Republican in Tulsa, Dave Rader, the Democrat. Tulsa's turning blue. And the Democrat could actually beat him, which won't hurt us because Dave Rader has voted with the swamp. So believe it or not, folks, I would support the Democrat in that race, and for this reason, because it takes away a vote that could hurt you. And it doesn't help you, but it doesn't hurt you. And so this is the part of the strategy. But like I say, I go into a committee room, say there's 7 committee members, 2 Democrats, 5 Republicans. If you've got 3 Republicans that are rhinos in the middle, look how your vote goes now. It votes against you. You'll have a 5 to, you'll lose. So you're better off having Democrats and solid Republicans than this mediocre stuff. And that's why we're working. So when will this change? The main vote for the change in the pro tem will take place in December. And then there's an official vote, I think, in January. Is that, I think, something like that?
After everyone gets
sworn in, right.
Yeah, so the interim, it really, well, other than the money, is basically for that period between November and January.
But don't kid yourself. It's about the money.
Yeah.
And the power.
Yeah.
And then usually whoever's the interim is the person who gets elected to be
correct.
The pro tem.
This year was in fact, I don't think it had ever happened in Oklahoma, having the pro tem designate defeated in an election.
Yeah.
Folks, I'm telling you, we can win this. I mean, I can see it, but like I say, it's going to take effort. And if you're who got a text that this meeting was happening today?
I got 2 of them.
Okay, well we got to get everyone on the text list.
You haven't signed in the sheet.
Yeah.
You're going to sign in tonight.
Sign in, and we'll make sure you get a text for the meeting. And here's what's important about that. When I send out the text, and we don't just send them out for fun. When I send them out, it's for business. And so when I say, I need you to call your senator or a senator, here's the number, here's the email address. I mean, I need you on it. I mean, people think, well, I don't know if I've got time. Well, them founding fathers sure took a lot of time out of their lives and their fortunes to make sure we could have this construction of a constitution we have now, so maybe we don't have to go back and fight like they did. So that's all we're asking you to participate in some of this. But like I said, we'll keep you informed. Who knew about your Senator Coleman was a part of the swamp? Few, not enough. But also, if you also want to ask me your state senator's name, I'll tell you where they are. On my printer at home, I left our brand new ratings sheet, but Senator Greg Treat, who's the current pro tem, F. The floor leader, Greg McCourtney, F. Senator Darcy Yeck out of Weatherford, F. He smiled and killed over 20 gun bills in his committee. Smiled and was proud to do it. F. And so that's what we're doing. A lot of people have no idea, because here's what they'll do. They'll work to kill a gun bill, work to kill it, and then when they see it might pass, then they'll vote for it and say, hey, I voted for it. And we're saying, gotcha. No, you're not going to get away with that. And we've done that. And some of you know us specifically that we've taken care until I've done this. So if you like your liberty protected, if you haven't joined, please do so, because you're actually seeing it, what the grassroots is all about. And like I say, it's not just OK2A that's helping defeat this. This is a grassroots effort, everyone working together. Plus, you see a good candidate come up, you get behind them, they turn in a good survey. We watch around people around them. We see and to see if we think that they're going to be credible and hold up. You know, and again, it ain't perfect, but we've had a pretty good record on it here. So I'd like to continue to do that with your support. So, any other questions?
A couple.
Yes, sir.
So
I have to charge you by the question, you know that.
12, 13, 14 years ago when you first, you said earlier when you get those nasty grams, you're like, man, whatever.
Yeah.
But how did you respond? How did you feel about them when you got them when you first started?
Well, the first one,
I'm just curious.
in 2016, I got the first death threat. And that's like, have you got no life? And it was because there was a legislator in Southeast Oklahoma who was just doing everything he could to get reelected. And he said, I'm the best Second Amendment supporter at that state capitol. And I issued a press release stating, no, there's actually, I think it was 34 people with a better voting record than you. And explained why he had a C rating, or C, whatever it was, C plus. And there's people down there that didn't take too kindly to that. So we never got it pinpointed who. But it's, when you get closer to the elections, that's when the crazies tend to come out. And the other thing too, you'll enjoy this. Saturday night, phone goes to ringing, and you just know it's a drunk dial. You just know it's a drunk dial with someone. Man, you OK2A. All you guys need to do is worry about gun rights. You shouldn't care if illegal aliens have an Oklahoma driver's license. What's that got to do with guns? Well, I get those. But also the most rewarding, I have to say, the most rewarding call I ever got, and it was on a Saturday night at 11:40. And my wife had already gone to bed. I'm thinking, okay, here we go. And it was a grandmother calling to thank me because we had passed legislation so those in the military basically had constitutional carry. And her daughter was at the restaurant in Oklahoma City where the guy went ballistic and started shooting people up, and that military dude got his gun out of his car and shot and stopped that guy right there. Otherwise, it would have been a criminal act on his part. And she called, yeah, that's it, yeah. And she called, and like that it still just breaks me down. But she, and then we had her grandkids, and and the granddaughter with some other people, and gave them an award for courage for that, because I didn't want them to think that they were just being left alone on this thing. But like I say, there's good points too.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
And how it was at the beginning versus now.
The death threats get a copy, go to my sheriff, and there's literally nothing they can do because you don't have, they can't search IP address. They can't do some of this stuff. And it always happens. I'll be driving down the road and you get the call, and there's no way for me to try to record it or something like that. But the drunk guy that would call me told me he's going to blow my effing head off. Which was down there. He was down in Pontotoc County, and they knew who he was, and the sheriff wouldn't go do anything about it. And then you figure out, oh, sheriff's a Democrat. Got it. Got it. Got it. Yeah, got it.
The other thing I was gonna ask.
So there's that stuff. So anyone that comes down my driveway knows that the lights better be flashing and the horn honking, that it's intentional that they're coming down my driveway. Because otherwise, they're greeted with, Mr. AR, or could have the 12 gauge over my, they're greeted with something that's, because like I say, you're looking at the sheriff till he gets there. We're in a rural area. So, yes, sir.
Don, what should us coordinators, what should we focus the most on in our meetings?
Well, also depends on what time of year it is. Right now is voter registration, and to make sure that we have people out ready to vote. Also, what's important too is we encouraging and letting people know what legislation is coming about, and also the problems, legislators that we have, and educating people. The main thing right now, I asked it, who here right now can tell me who is your state rep and who is your state senator? Okay, you got to have them on your speed dial. You got to have it, because that interaction is what's made OK2A successful. The interaction with your legislator, because here's the deal, they're real people. I mean, they stump their toe, it hurts. They got family stuff. And so you learn to work with these people, buy them lunch, go take them to coffee, whatever it is, and have a relationship with them. Because when they know you call them, they go, I met that guy or met that gal, and they were real nice to me, so I need to listen to them. Because who isn't human that someone calls you and they're screaming at you and all this stuff? Who wants to have a conversation with that? Okay, so legislators are real people too. So that's one point I try to work on. But also we'll have the list of stuff coming up that we're trying to get introduced for next year. But like I say, and I'm working on stuff with legislators right now who are in elections, that we got to get them their job back, so we can make sure we've got our A++ guys ready to go and help us. So does that answer your question? Kind of, sort of, maybe? Okay. Did I answer yours earlier? Okay. All right.
I was also going to ask, in the 117 years that we've been a state, taking our Constitution, which is one of the longest in the world, I'm sure that someone at some point has gone through it and found and made a list of everything that's in conflict with the U.S. Constitution.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yeah, the guy that did that was Joe Vaden.
No.
No, wasn't Joe? No one wants to do it.
You guys have someone?
We have it on our issue. We don't have anyone that's gone through the whole state constitution.
To compare it to the two and basically, because I would think that.
Well, who did ours was Professor O'Shea from the Oklahoma City University School of Law.
Well, the reason I ask is we keep talking about needing to put together a ballot measure to change our state's Second Amendment.
Right.
But if it's in conflict with the U.S. Constitution, it should just be.
You would think, but.
Well, and that goes back to, yes, we need to.
See, you're being a practical, constitutionally thinking person. And the thing is, that is not what is inside that state legislature. It's not inside the judiciary. And so, at times, I would even say the executive branches even face the same issue. That's why it's important who you hire. And we're hiring these people to be legislators.
Well, we need to get rid of the judges, so November 5th.
Right.
Or if you can't, if you have to work, like my wife is a nurse, go vote early. But then, if we can't count on the legislature to do these things,
right?
What's it going to take for us as
Good
OK2A to do it ourselves?
Okay, and I think we're just about to that point. I've hesitated trying to go through that system of putting it on the ballot outside of the legislature. For me, the legislature screwed this thing up. You should fix it. Well, they said, well, we weren't here when that happened. Right, so you should still fix it. Fix it. And they won't. So you're right, we may be looking also, a ballot measure related to a constitutional change takes a whole lot of more than just to take a statute change. So, but like I say, but that's what we should be working on, but no, I mean, that's a fair question, and I think we're growing enough, and I like Terry's attitude on it, that we need to make sure there's an OK2A chapter in every county, which we still don't have. But again, and I held Terry back a little bit, I said, look, we need quality over quantity. Because if I've done the quantity thing, and you can have headaches grow up, and now you're having to deal with the headaches instead of actually getting your production done. Let's go with quality, and I'm grateful you guys, like these guys right here, that have helped us so much get this stuff done. And like I say, every little bit helps. It's amazing.
Another question from online.
Okay.
Michael Morrison,
Okay.
Americans for Prosperity, wants to know if you support moving the school board election. I already know the answer.
Thank you.
Moving the school board elections to the general election day in November.
Yes, we do. We pushed the legislation and the Republicans killed it. And so that's why we need, like I say, we need good leadership that will push to do these things.
Amen.
Absolutely. Yep. And there's a lot of things us and AFP we work together on, and I'm glad that we've got them. We work
They
together.
do a lot of good work.
Absolutely. All right.
I have
Well,
one question.
oh yeah.
What you was answering with Joe here on the, changing the Constitution, I don't know if you answered it totally, because you was talking about using OK2A to go around legislators. Is that to get signatures?
Right.
And force them to do something?
Right.
I got it.
No, it's not forcing them to do something. It's
To put
taking
it
it
on the
completely
ballot.
out of their hands and get it on the
Put it on
ballot.
the ballot, right, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So, which is why we need to grow this organization so we can get that done. You had one more? You got it?
Well, the thing you asked a second ago, that Michael asked,
Yeah.
that reminded me, that was one of the questions that came up in the conversation that I had with the Pocket City superintendent at the beginning of this week, and I asked him how he felt about it. And he was against it because,
Yeah, no kidding.
well,
Right.
he's
Because
like,
they-
well, because that makes people not as engaged
Oh.
with,
BS.
that's the answer he gave.
May I do that? This actually will force them to engage because there's so much gonna be on a ballot that they'll be eaten up if they don't engage. Right now, there's a school board election. We're gonna raise the bond money and all this stuff, and raise your taxes on this, and we can get it done with 100 people if we keep it quiet. And that's what they've done.
Yeah.
And also, let me go one more step for you. We need to change also mayor's races to be on the same ballot, because this is the exact same problem
City
we have
council.
across the city council, all that type of stuff, all in the same thing. It all needs to be in November and done then. If they say, well, the ballot's gonna be so long, okay,
We don't care.
okay, got it.
We've only had 7 elections so far this year.
Yeah, thank you, you bet.
There have been voting districts that moved their school board elections to the general election day. And one of them that I read about had a 10,000% increase in voter turnout.
That's all.
Because right now, who controls these school board elections? It's the teachers, the administrators, their families, their friends, the vendors. Tonkawa is building they're just about finished with a $13 million cafeteria. We've got about 700 or 800 students, and the lunches are catered in cardboard boxes. They built a $13 million facility to hand out box lunches. It's crazy. But good luck getting a school board election in in Tonkawa voted down. A couple of things. Please sign in if you haven't. If you can, leave your phone number and email address on there. I want to thank everybody for your past prayers. I just went through a surgical procedure about 6 weeks ago, and what they took out was benign. It was non-cancerous. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you, Lord. I've got another procedure coming up, and so I'm asking for your continued prayers. Once I get this taken care of, I'm going to be in pretty good shape for a man of my advanced years. I'll be 77 in November, 2 days before Election Day. My birthday was the day that Trump got beat. That's the worst birthday I've ever had this last time around. Okay, also on joining, It's only, our entry level is $25 a year. If you're a student, it's only $10 a year. But what we really love is if you could make, say, a 5 or 10 or whatever dollar contribution on a monthly basis on your credit card. This is what I do, and I mean, I don't even notice it, to tell you the truth. I mean, you know, what's $5 or $10 a month? The $25 a year, that gets you plugged in and in the battle, and it's less than 50 cents a week. You can't even get a lousy cup of coffee or a Coke for 50 cents anymore. So we would appreciate it. There's forms on the back. Glenn can help you. The money that comes into OK2A, as opposed to a lot of groups that are asking for your money, political groups that are asking for your money, we don't have any administrative costs. The money you give goes directly into the battle. And that makes a huge difference. Because a lot of, like NRA, anybody know about the overhead at the NRA? Private jets, $500,000 a year salaries and so forth. We don't do that. What Don gets, Don could make that much working at fast food, I bet.
I got a Honda with 205,000 miles on it.
I've got a Prius with 96,000, and about half of those are OK2A miles. Folks, it's vital. As I said earlier, this whole thing is coming unraveled. We've got to stop it. And if you don't want to do it for yourself, think about your kids and grandkids, because if we lose our Constitution, our freedoms, they're very unlikely to ever get them back. So, also, a couple of us are going to go down to Danny's barbecue afterwards. So if anybody wants to join us, it's up on Prospect. It's actually right next door to Rib Crib, but it's better barbecue, and it's a small local business. And they've got a little private room out front there that we'll use this time. So we'd love to see any of you there. Thank you again for coming. Don, thanks a lot for driving up.
You bet.
He's up to his ears right now in election stuff. So I appreciate him taking a full day off to come up here. Any other remarks or questions before I wind it up? Oh yeah, the signs are back there. Get one in your yard. I got my issues with Trump, don't get me wrong, but he is our last hope to save this Constitution. So I personally don't have a problem with his mouth and his tweets. That was one of the reasons I liked him right off the bat. Somebody slap him in the face, he bashes him upside the head with a tire iron, you know. But I know I've never ever had a perfect candidate that I supported, but he is our last best hope. So get a sign, get it in your yard. Thank you for coming, and I hope to see some of you down at Danny's Barbecue. Thank you. God bless America.